It is not merely a structure of stone and timber. It is an iceberg. 90% of its profound story, its true mass, remains hidden beneath the earth. You might believe you comprehend this house, its purpose, its power. You do not. To truly grasp the beating heart of American authority, we must journey back 233 years to a landscape dominated by marsh and mud. Here, on this very ground, George Washington stood. His vision audacious, he chose a swamp for the nation's capital. Yet in its raw, untamed wilderness, he saw a masterpiece waiting to be sculpted. There would be no towering machines, no mechanical marvels to aid in its birth, only the relentless force of human muscle. In the crisp air of October 1792, the first earth was turned, painstakingly, by hand. The architect, James Hoban, a man whose design would define an era, received $500 and a gleaming gold medal for his extraordinary vision. The very cornerstone, a potent symbol of enduring legacy, was laid in utmost secrecy by the enigmatic Freemasons. To this day, its precise location remains an unsolved mystery, a silent testament to the hidden foundations of power. This monumental house was not built by a singular force, but by a symphony of hands. Enslaved laborers, their toil a silent testament to an unforgivable past, worked alongside hopeful immigrants and steadfast local artisans. Every single inch of its colossal foundation bears the indelible mark of human sweat, a silent offering to the future. The stone itself was sourced from Aquia Creek, a material both soft and porous, rendering it pliable for carving, yet incredibly heavy, a colossal challenge to transport. To master this formidable medium, the finest stonemasons in the world were summoned from Scotland, their expertise unmatched. Each intricate flower adorning the exterior, every delicate flourish, was meticulously hand-carved, a painstaking labor of love that stretched over years. The very mortar that bound these stones together was forged from burnt oyster shells, an ancient alchemy that produced lime. The heat from these kilns was intense, a searing inferno, and the acrid stench, an unbearable assault on the senses. By 1795, the largest stone house in all of America was finally taking discernible shape. It rose from the nascent landscape, a veritable giant in a land still dotted with humble cabins, a stark declaration of ambition and permanence. Yet, its inner skeleton, a framework of beautiful, intricate wood, harbored a profound vulnerability. This wood, though elegant, was a ticking time bomb, a constant threat in an age where fire was a perpetual danger. To seal the structure against the relentless elements, a 1790s waterproofing technique was employed, molten lead. Deadly for the workers who poured it, the glowing liquid was the only reliable method to keep the driving rain from penetrating the nascent walls. Glass, a rare luxury, was largely imported from distant Europe, and tragically, half of every shipment shattered into countless shards before ever reaching the fledgling capital. To prevent the plaster from cracking under the stresses of time and movement, a surprising material was mixed in: horsehair, a testament to ingenious, if rudimentary, craftsmanship. In 1798, after 6 grueling years of relentless construction, the house stood on the precipice of completion. The grand staircase, a breathtaking ascent, was conceived with the grandeur befitting kings, yet destined for a president. Even now, its sweeping curves represent the most important climb in the nation, a silent passage to the pinnacle of power. Then came November 1800. The house, still raw and unfinished, was freezing. The paint, barely dry, clung to the walls with a damp promise. But the waiting was over. The president was arriving today. On November 1st, President John Adams stepped across the threshold. Of the 36 rooms within, a mere 6 were deemed livable. Welcome home. First Lady Abigail Adams, a woman of formidable spirit, was forced to use the Grand East Room, a cavern of empty promises, to dry the family's laundry. Meals for a nascent nation were prepared over an open flame, a stark reminder of the primitive conditions. There was no running water, no convenient switches to summon light or warmth, only wood, iron, and the dancing, unpredictable fire. The East Room itself would remain unfinished, a vast, echoing void, for another 2 decades. Washington, the visionary, had specifically requested an oval room for greeting guests, a space with no corners to hide in, a symbol of transparent leadership. Water for daily life had to be carried in, bucket by painstaking bucket, by hand. No pipes, no faucets, just the endless, arduous task of transport. Why white? The question itself holds the answer. It was a declaration, a statement of purity, of purpose, of a new beginning rising from the mud and the ambition, destined to stand as a beacon, its visible facade a symbol, its true depth an enduring power, an iceberg still revealing its secrets. It was never about mere aesthetics. The application of a thick lime wash served a crucial, practical purpose: to seal the inherently porous Aquia Creek sandstone, protecting the nascent structure from the relentless elements. This was a building born of necessity, not simply decorative ambition. Then, in 1801, Thomas Jefferson arrived. The young capital, still more a promise than a city, was a raw canvas. And at its heart stood a presidential residence, grand yet unrefined, awaiting the touch of a mind both visionary and intensely practical. Jefferson, a man whose intellect spanned philosophy and engineering, immediately began to transform the house. He commissioned the construction of its very first wings. These were not the stately administrative offices we imagine today. Instead, they were the hidden arteries of the mansion, designed to house the essential, mundane machinery of daily life: vast stores of ice, cool chambers for preserving meat, and deep cellars for the president's wine. They were the unseen gears turning beneath the elegant facade, facilitating the complex operations of a household charged with leading a burgeoning nation. By 1804, another revolutionary convenience emerged from Jefferson's innovative spirit: the first indoor toilet. No longer would the residents of the president's house be forced into the indignity of midnight excursions across dew-soaked lawns to distant outhouses. This was a profound leap in comfort and hygiene, a testament to Jefferson's relentless pursuit of improvement, his almost obsessive fascination with technology, making him a true technard, centuries ahead of his time. Under his watchful eye, the wild, untamed swamp surrounding the house slowly began its metamorphosis into a meticulously designed landscape. For the first time, the house did not merely perch upon the land. It began to integrate, to belong, to rise organically from the American soil it was destined to represent. This was the vision of a nation finding its footing, asserting its place in the world. By 1810, the grand project was finally declared complete. A decade of meticulous construction, of architectural innovation and presidential oversight, culminated in a structure that embodied the aspirations of the young republic. It stood as a beacon of democracy, a symbol of stability. But that stability was a fragile thing. In a mere 4 years, the very foundations of that symbol would be tested by fire. August of 1814. The air hung heavy with the oppressive heat of summer, but a different kind of heat was bearing down on Washington. British forces, emboldened by their victories, marched on the capital, their sights set squarely on this house. The era of peaceful construction, of quiet innovation, was abruptly over. The invaders breached the doors, their boots echoing through the stately halls. They found a dinner prepared, a table set by Dolly Madison, who, with remarkable foresight, had already fled, securing invaluable national treasures. The British officers, with a brazen audacity that bordered on sacrilege, consumed the president's meal, raised toasts to their king with the president's own wine, and then, with chilling deliberation, prepared to obliterate it all. Furniture, books, the very tangible records of history vanished in moments. This was not merely about military victory. It was an act of profound symbolic destruction, an attempt to erase the beating heart of the American capital, to extinguish the spirit of a defiant republic. The timber skeleton of the house became a roaring inferno, transforming the stone structure into a massive oven. The heat reached such unimaginable intensities that the very stone, solid and ancient, began to crack, to groan under the assault. The building groaned, bled smoke, and threatened to collapse into a pile of ash. But then, as if by some miraculous intervention, nature itself intervened. A sudden, violent thunderstorm erupted, a freak deluge that lashed down upon the burning city. The torrents of rain, against all odds, began to quench the raging fires. It was as if the very land, the spirit of the nascent nation, refused to let its symbol be utterly consumed. When the smoke finally cleared, a landscape of desolation remained. The entire interior of the house was gone, devoured by the flames. Only the charred skeletal stone shell stood, cracked and scarred, permeated by the acrid stench of smoke, a permanent reminder of the inferno it had endured. The nation reeled. Whispers circulated, suggesting the capital be moved further inland to Cincinnati, away from the vulnerable coast, away from the reach of British ships. Yet a deeper conviction took hold. For the young republic to survive, to demonstrate its resilience, its very spirit, this house had to rise again. It had to be rebuilt, not just as a building, but as an unyielding declaration. James Hoban, the original architect, now older, his hands perhaps less steady, but his vision undimmed, was called upon once more. He faced the daunting task of resurrecting his masterpiece from its own grave, to breathe life back into a monument that had been brought to its knees. The scars of the fire ran deep. Despite every effort, the soot and smoke had permeated the porous stone, creating indelible stains. The intense heat had warped and discolored the very fabric of the building. The house was permanently marked, a testament to its ordeal. It was at this pivotal moment, driven by necessity and a desire to conceal the extensive fire damage, that a decision was made. The entire exterior was coated in a brilliant, pristine white paint. And so, from the ashes of destruction, a new identity was forged, a legend born, the White House. A new roof was installed, yet in a peculiar echo of the past, the same inherently dangerous wooden design was replicated. The house was rebuilt almost exactly as it had been, a labyrinthine wooden forest once again encased within a stone box, a silent vulnerability waiting to be awakened. The heating systems of 1815 were rudimentary. More fireplaces meant more smoke, a constant reminder of the recent past, but it was the only reliable method to keep the president warm against the biting Washington winters. As the nation entered the era of good feelings under President James Monroe, the vision for the house transformed. Monroe, desiring an elegance that surpassed its former iteration, sought to elevate the residence beyond mere functionality. The house was no longer simply a home, it was a statement, a declaration of national pride and growing sophistication. French style, with its opulent grandeur and refined aesthetics, became the new architectural aspiration. The president's house began its metamorphosis into a veritable palace, shedding the vestiges of simple survival for an embrace of luxury. This was a period of national confidence, and the interiors, now adorned with gold leaf and sumptuous fabrics, reflected that gilded optimism. The trauma of the fire also brought a stark realization. The house needed genuine protection. The elegant, yet formidable gates that now guard its perimeter serve as a constant silent reminder of that fateful August day in 1814, a physical manifestation of lessons learned through devastating loss. Inside, the Blue Room, a space of profound national significance, was meticulously restored. Its ceiling, now a masterpiece of intricate plasterwork and detailed ornamentation, was more than just a structural element. It became a crown, an exquisite canopy befitting the most important ceremonial room in the house, a symbol of renewed strength and enduring purpose. The rebuilt house, while undoubtedly stronger than its original incarnation in 1792, remained, at its core, a structure of wood and stone. A testament to resilience, certainly, but also a whispered acknowledgement of its inherent, enduring fragility. In the nascent years of the American Republic, a subtle revolution of convenience began to unfold within the president's house. Imagine the year 1817, a time when communication across even a single grand residence was a complex dance of messengers and shouted commands. Yet a sophisticated system emerged. A single, deliberate pull on a cord in the elegant dining room above could trigger a bell in the service quarters below, signaling an immediate need for coffee, or perhaps a fresh pot of tea. This seemingly simple mechanism was, in its era, a marvel of high-tech connectivity, streamlining the intricate daily operations of the nation's most important household. As the calendar turned to New Year's Day, 1818, another significant transformation took root. The president's house, a symbol of a young nation's aspirations, finally received its first proper driveway. No longer a mere path, this carefully constructed approach elevated the residence, bestowing upon it an entrance befitting its burgeoning status. The exterior, however, remained a work in progress, its grand vision still taking shape. Towering columns, destined to define its iconic facade, were still on their journey, either being quarried or meticulously carved. The very earth around the mansion was being sculpted, reshaped, through immense effort to create what we now recognize as the President's Park, a sweeping landscape designed to complement the monumental architecture. By 1824, the house, for all its improvements, still presented a sowis made to introduce the iconic curve that would define its south facade. These graceful architectural elements were not merely for aesthetics. They provided crucial structural support for the grand balcony that would soon project outwards. Constructing this balcony, some 30 feet above the ground, was a perilous undertaking. A single misstep, a moment of imbalance, and a massive stone slab could plummet, shattering what would become the most famous porch in the world. It is from this very vantage point that presidents would, for generations, wave to the assembled crowds, a gesture etched into the collective memory of a nation. Finally, the president's house received its definitive front porch, offering a dry, dignified entry, a welcome refuge from the elements, and a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness of evening. Yet as the structure evolved, so too did the demands for internal comfort and efficiency. The wooden floors, a testament to the house's original construction, began to creak under the weight of history and constant passage. The flickering glow of candles, once the sole source of evening illumination, was soon replaced by the revolutionary brilliance of gaslight. This innovation banished the shadows, but it brought with it a new challenge. The air inside the grand rooms grew heavy with the subtle, persistent scent of fumes. The laborious task of fetching water in buckets from the lawn was rendered obsolete by the advent of running water, piping this essential resource directly into the house. The kitchen, too, underwent a dramatic evolution, embracing modern cooking techniques and equipment that transformed the preparation of presidential meals. Dark hallways, once reliant on artificial light, were now bathed in natural daylight, thanks to new architectural interventions. The very first West Wing, a concept now synonymous with presidential power, was initially conceived as a vibrant garden, a tranquil oasis of flowers. But the relentless expansion of presidential duties soon demanded more space. Beneath the elegant facade, coal-fired heat, a marvel of industrial progress, was installed throughout the building, rendering the traditional fireplaces largely ornamental, used more for ambiance than warmth. Then came a true leap in communication. The first instant message. The White House was now connected to the wider world through telegraph lines, bridging distances that once took days or weeks to traverse. But time and the relentless march of progress took its toll. The original wood structure, now 30 years old, began to show its age, struggling under the strain of continuous use. Even the persistent problem of unpleasant odors, a common issue in large, old buildings, demanded a solution. A significant step towards intellectual gravitas was taken with the establishment of the first official White House Library, a dedicated space for presidential study and contemplation. The ongoing quest for durability and safety saw wood replaced with stone in critical areas, a move that simultaneously enhanced fire safety and elevated the house's stylistic grandeur. The iconic entrance, a symbol of national welcome, was further refined and sealed, its imposing gates becoming a clear signal that the president was in residence. The building was finally taking on the recognizable form we know today, an enduring icon. However, the very success of the presidency meant the house was becoming increasingly crowded. By 1902, a critical tension emerged. This grand residence, built to be both a home and a seat of power, was being overwhelmed by the sheer volume of official work. It was, by all accounts, a chaotic mess. The beautiful flower gardens, once a source of serenity, were sacrificed to the urgent need for more office space. Foundations were dug, and a temporary executive office building began to rise, creating the first physical bridge between the president's private life and his demanding public role. Intended as a provisional solution, this structure stands to this day, a testament to the enduring nature of presidential needs. The president finally had a dedicated functional office, separate from his living quarters. The late 19th century brought another transformative force: electricity. In 1891, the White House was wired for electric light. President L switches himself. Retrofitting a century-old stone house for the electric age was a monumental task, demanding innovative solutions to integrate new technology into an existing, historic structure. The internal movements of the president were also modernized. No longer confined to stairs, the president could now ascend floors with ease, a symbol of technological advancement and personal convenience. This was the very house where the most profound decisions in American history would be forged, where the weight of the world would often rest. President William Howard Taft, recognizing the growing importance of a dedicated workspace, envisioned an office that would embody the history and dignity of the house itself. His vision was bold, a room with no corners, a circular space designed for contemplation and command. It was an architectural challenge, but the result would be the legendary Oval Office. Within it, the resolute desk, a magnificent gift from Queen Victoria, carved from the timbers of a ghost ship, would become a permanent fixture, a silent witness to countless moments of national destiny. As the nation grew, so too did the threats it faced. Security around the White House became an increasingly serious concern, prompting new measures to protect the president and his staff. Another fire, a constant hazard in a building of such age, ravaged parts of the West Wing, but the response was swift and decisive. The damage was rebuilt almost instantly, a testament to the nation's unwavering commitment to its symbols of power. The various disparate elements of the complex were unified, creating a cohesive architectural statement, a single, elegant look. A protected walk, shielded from public view, was established for the president, ensuring both privacy and security. The White House, now fully integrated and modernized, began to truly ring with the constant hum of activity, its new telephone lines connecting the president to every corner of the nation and the world, transforming the pace and scope of his duties forever. The very air inside the White House once hummed with an unseen tension. Beyond the grand pronouncements and the weight of executive decisions, a more primal struggle unfolded within its walls. The sounds of a new administration, the footsteps of power, echoed through a structure quietly, relentlessly, giving way. This was not merely a house, it was a living monument, yet one slowly succumbing to the ravages of time, of climate, and of the sheer, relentless burden of history it was forced to bear. For more than a century, the main house had served as both a symbol and a sanctuary, a museum of American resolve, a peaceful escape just steps from the relentless demands of the Oval Office. But the relentless humidity of Washington, D.C., a silent, corrosive enemy, was winning. A grim warning emerged from the shadows of its foundations. The house, with its ancient bones, was growing too heavy for itself. What appeared to be a grand, unwavering edifice was, in truth, a dying structure, patched over with temporary fixes, each one adding more weight to a roof already on the verge of collapse. The locus of power had shifted, but the very ground beneath it was about to snap. The roof, the original one from 1817, was literally rotting away. By 1927, the nation's most revered residence had become a death trap. The solution was drastic, yet essential, tearing off the original roof, a relic of a bygone era. Modernity, with its cold, hard logic, finally arrived. For the first time, the White House received a true steel skeleton, a testament to the sound of progress. Massive steel trusses replaced ancient, groaning timber. This monumental structural overhaul allowed for an audacious expansion, increasing the living space by a remarkable 50% without altering the iconic silhouette. The building was, at last, fireproof and solid, a bulwark against both time and disaster. A private sunroom, a quiet retreat for the president, was added, a small luxury in a world teetering on the brink. Then, the world plunged into war. The serene residence had to transform, to become a fortress. While the public believed the ongoing construction was simply for additional offices, a deeper, more urgent purpose lay hidden beneath the surface. This was a cover for something far more critical, a secret project. Under the cloak of night, teams worked tirelessly, digging deep through the dense DC clay. The result was the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, the PEOC. The White House now boasted a basement capable of surviving a direct bomb strike, a shielded nerve center for a nation at war. A tunnel, 760 feet long, connected the East Wing directly to the Treasury Building, a hidden artery for critical personnel. This was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's War Room, the subterranean chamber where the fate of the world was, in many ways, decided. The Oval Office itself was relocated, seeking better light, more privacy, and for the first time protection behind bulletproof windows, installed in 1942. The entire structure was camouflaged, hidden from enemy bombers, transforming the executive mansion into the nerve center of a global conflict. Yet even with these fortifications, the house was carrying too much weight. It groaned, a mournful sound echoing through its hallowed halls. The massive stone walls, once a symbol of permanence, were visibly spreading, bowing under the immense pressure. The house was giving up. Every passing truck on Pennsylvania Avenue sent tremors through its aged frame, a low scream of protest from the very foundations. It was sinking, slowly but inexorably, back into the marshy swamp from which it had first risen. There was no more time. One more year, and this irreplaceable monument, this symbol of American democracy, would surely fall. The structural limit had been reached and surpassed. A piano one day almost crashed through a floor, a chilling premonition of total collapse. The White House was officially condemned, deemed unsafe for the President of the United States to inhabit. The immediate thought was to destroy it, to level the failing structure and start anew. But the iconic stone shell, a silent witness to a century and a half of history, was too precious to lose. So began the Great Gutting. The decision was made to go inside the skeleton, to strip away everything that was 150 years old, to dismantle the interior while preserving the exterior. The spectacle was astonishing. A bulldozer operating where the opulent Red Room once stood, tearing through the layers of history. The house was then anchored, deeply, to the bedrock below, finally conquering its battle against the swamp. What emerged was a building within a building, a reinforced concrete bunker, a modern fortress cloaked in classical elegance. Level by level, the floors were rebuilt, stronger than ever before. More escape routes were seamlessly integrated. Modern plumbing graced every room, a stark contrast to the primitive systems of old. The digital age found its early roots here, with new wiring for evolving technologies. And finally, the long, arduous battle against the DC heat was won, with air conditioning bringing relief to its occupants. The walls, once stained and weary, were now white and clean again. The iconic white, a symbol of resilience and renewal, returned in full glory. The White House, a living, breathing entity, had once again defied its own demise, rebuilt from within to bear the immeasurable weight of power, of history, and of the future it was destined to shape. The very sight of Truman's controversial porch once sparked outrage, a symbol of architectural defiance. Today, that same structure draws admiration, a curious shift in public sentiment, a historical puzzle resolved by time and perspective. This is not merely a building, it is a meticulously crafted illusion, an ancient face grafted onto a vibrant modern body. Its walls gleam with a brilliance unseen in generations, poised to host and influence the world's most powerful figures. The transformation was monumental, a 4-year odyssey consuming $6 million. This house, often perceived as a static monument, is in truth an immortal entity, a living archive. Every home whispers its secrets, but this one reverberates with dozens, each echo a testament to resilience. Once, its very foundations swayed, a silent threat beneath its iconic facade. Now, it stands unyielding, an engineering marvel securing the heartbeat of a nation. It wears the dignified mantle of the 1800s, yet hums with the dynamic energy of the 1950s, all while being engineered for the challenges of 2030. This is where history breathes anew, where the very soul of the house is being reclaimed. It transcends the functional office, evolving into a vibrant museum, its buried narratives unearthed and celebrated. Even the world's most powerful leader requires a sanctuary from the relentless pressure. Here, real-time intelligence becomes paramount, giving birth to the legendary Situation Room, a crucible of critical decisions. This White House, with its pioneering energy efficiency, was always ahead of its time. Beneath the feet of unsuspecting reporters, the presidential pool remains, a hidden layer of history beneath the visible surface. The digital revolution has swept through the West Wing, establishing total global connectivity, a seamless flow of information, crucial for modern governance. Yet this openness is balanced by an unyielding defense against contemporary threats. To keep a president cool under pressure, layers of protection are paramount. The digital walls rise ever higher, safeguarding invaluable data from any conceivable attack, while the unseen infrastructure stands ready to orchestrate state dinners for 200 guests. This is not simply a house, it is an iceberg, 90% of its immense complexity hidden beneath the ground, a self-contained city under a single, iconic roof, fully prepared for 2026. Through 233 years of grit, fire, and steel, this edifice has died and been spectacularly reborn 5 times. And still, it remains the undisputed center of the world.